PTR-91F. So I did a few things to it. It came with a factory black stock, which is this thing right here, and it's too short. I really didn't like it. Like it really sucked because I have a really long length of pull, so it didn't really work out for me. So by adding this Magpul PRS2 stock, and I'm actually able to adjust my length of pull right there just by turning the knobs. Pretty simple, and it's pretty stationary, pretty solid. And they also sell a thicker butt pad that you can put on it. It doesn't really, it's pretty hard, pretty dense. It doesn't really have much cushion. I mean, the whole thing kind of wobbles the hair, but it ain't too big of a problem really. But yeah, so I didn't really like that too much. I also got a green one because I bought that from not so cheap as dirt, and it was, I think I got that in a Forearm. I think it was like $30 or so. I forget. It came with a fiberglass Forearm too as well, and I got the little pistol grip as a kit. And I had to take the whole recoil buffer, and I got this whole spring and rod. I took that out of my black one to put in this stock because it didn't come with one when I bought it. But anyways, and then also I got a little stud so I can attach my sling because I shoot southpaw. But I much prefer this, and also the comb is adjustable, especially if you end up going the route of not a low pro, because this doesn't have a Picatinny rail on it. If you get one of these little claw mounts, and I added a Picatinny top to it, just 2 little screws and it comes out. But anyways, when you put this on there, then it sits up fairly high. You can't have the 2 mounts on at the same time. It sits, I mean, pretty fairly high, and by doing that, your the scope is going to be much higher. So that's when that's going to come into play. But, well, and then whenever you first get it, it actually doesn't come with that lower. That's one of the steel ones, is a clipped and pinned lower receiver. And it comes with a little plastic one. It's pretty sturdy. I tend to like finger groove grips a little bit better. That was pretty much my only option that I knew of whenever I kind of built this whole rig up. But I also got the little ambidextrous safety on it. The third position doesn't do anything because it's a semi only. But as I was saying, it's a semi only. But you can also get the metal ones, like the G3 lowers. They're fairly close, just minor differences here and there. First of all, this one's not clipped and pinned, and that one will not go in there because it needs that little shelf, which is that's going to fit up into the lower receiver part. That's kind of crucial. That's if you can see it, this little thing, it clips down inside there, and it just kind of hinges and then clicks in. But anyways, I just like the idea of having finger grooves, a lot more comfortable, because consistency is accuracy. And it's still got the factory trigger, not really partial to it. It's kind of hefty, but I mean, once it breaks, I mean, it's not too bad. And as far as the magazines, they're aluminum, lightweight, not super beefy. They're doubled up right there. H&K, you can get them anywhere, nowadays, $3, maybe a little more, give or take a few, a couple bucks, depending on what kind of condition you want to buy them in or whatever. This one's a little dirty and all. Really lightweight, and especially of all the 308 mags I've ever loaded, which is a few, FAL, PTR, and 1A. This is really the easiest to load of the 308s I've ever handled, and that's actually a pleasure. It don't take you very long to load them up at all. 20 rounds, factory. And you can get pretty good deals on them. Sometimes RTG parts they have some good deals. You can buy them in bulk. They get even cheaper. And the PTR-91F model, a couple differences is it came with this aluminum forend, and it's actually got little holes right here in between the little vents, and these little holes are threaded, so you can put on rails wherever you want onto it. Now you can buy their own kit, but I had rails laying around, so I just kind of bolted them through the little slots. That let me position them kind of where I wanted them, you know. Normally I'd mount a Surefire on the side, you know, if you're going spotlighting or whatever you do. I just have a little Caldwell bipod, maybe $50, give or so. Not really the most expensive bipod at all. Pretty sturdy. I mean, it swivels, got springs in it. It's pretty much the one of the best, least expensive bipods that I've ever used without going to a Harris bipod or whatever. Not to say anything bad about those, but it's just something I like. And the Forearm, it just slips right off. There's one little screw right up here that you just loosen it up, and this whole thing just slides right on off. I never was really big on the whole. One thing I didn't like about the rear sight is not just having to adjust it, which can be a major pain in the ass if you don't have like a really small pair of needle nose or the proper tool. But the proper tool is kind of a pain in the butt to use. See if we can get some light down in there so you can see a little better. But there's two little notches down in there, and you can see right there on the left and the right side inside that circle. Those got to be depressed, and then you can actually rotate that drum. It's the elevation that's up and down. It's all threaded, so it can go up and down. You got to loosen that screw on the rear, that Phillips, and then you can turn that little knob right there on the side, and that's how you get your windage, and you just tighten the screw back up once you got it. But back to the second thing I didn't really care about it is it ain't that horrible, but on the rear sight for 100 yards, it's got a little V, which I mean it's a little bit easier to acquire. But I prefer the Ghost or the Peep, whatever. It's a lot easier, kind of like an AR. It's a lot easier to work with. But I also bought one of those little K&S front sights. It has a little duplex in it. I used that for a little bit, but it's a little. I like it for maybe like 100 yards or so. But once you're getting low on light, it's really hard to work with. And as well as the charging handle, that's not the factory one that comes on it. RTG, they sell ones that are for like HK21s that a little bigger, and that's what that is right there. And the factory one actually is this one right here, and it would sit about right there, and you can tell that the HK21 is a little bit bigger, and this is the factory one right here. My hands aren't really the biggest. I wear like size medium glove, but the larger your hands, the smaller this charging handle is going to be harder to grab. And I just like the angle that this one has on it. It's just a lot easier to grab, a lot quicker, you know, for mag changes, because it is not a bolt holdback on the, you know, after you fire the last round, which is kind of a negative thing in my mind. But I mean, after you send out 20 rounds of rock and roll, I mean, hey, you know. And let's see, and to the front of it, the muzzle brake, I forget exactly who makes it, but when I got it, it had was it 1/2x28 threads, which is for a AR. That's not what this is. It's metric. Well, so I pretty much just bought a tap, drilled it out, tapped it for the right metric threads, tacked on a little sleeve, and the right spacing and works out pretty good. The factory flash hider is actually a bird cage. It's actually a bird cage, and there's ports around the whole entire thing. So if you have it in this setup, this rig, then it's not really ideal for laying prone. You know, I shoot it off my bench at 100 yards fairly often, and I like this rig. You know, whenever you have the monopod on it, which you have to buy a rail that they sell, that's like an extra $15 or give or take. You know, then you can mount, you know, a monopod or something of some sort on the rear. And but for being a 308, I mean, it actually has a lot of decent amount of recoil, and the roller blade blowback, because after, you know, the round of fire and the bolt unlock and it'll come back. Well, you can actually feel the weight as the rather large bolt carrier goes back. So it doesn't really, when you shoot it, if you're paying attention, you can actually tell a difference in the recoil. So it's almost like it's slightly delayed recoil in a sense. It just kind of rocks you around a little bit. Ain't too bad. Just a little something to get used to. I've probably put about 200 rounds through it. I like it a lot. Rather, some of the parts can get a little pricey, but I pretty much have it set up the way I like, and it's turned out to be a pretty good rifle. I've taken one hog with it. He was only out maybe like 35 yards. I used iron sights. The 308 definitely has the knockdown power, that's for sure. And let's see, where else? And on the grips, you can actually, they come in black, and then you got there's like a, I don't know if they call it a tropic green. They got the OD green. These two aren't the exact same green. This one's just a little bit more flat olive, and this one's just a lighter shade of green. Might not be able to really tell in the video, but the Forearm, when I got it, that's the way it positions. That little part on the rear that just kind of goes inside the groove of the front where the trunnion or the receiver is. I had to do just slight Dremel work to make it slide in there. I don't know if that was just a difference in the H and K or exactly what, but I mean, as far as any of the parts I've put on that have been H and K, they're pretty close. I've read a lot of reviews and stuff about online how people are saying some certain H and K parts don't, they're not really compatible with like the CETMEs, and I've seen CETMEs. I just wanted to try to get something that's a little, hopefully a little nicer, and I like it so far. I don't like the CETME rear sights, to be honest with you. Just that little one fold over sight. I like the drum. Kind of makes you feel, get you a little bit closer to a H&K when you're not on a H&K budget. But one thing I left out on the PTR-91F series is it's actually got a bull barrel. The GI ones, I know they have like a tapered barrel on there. They're more tapered, shed a little bit of weight. I mean, it is a rather heavy rifle. That's why I prefer carrying, using just the fiberglass or plastic stocks on it. I mean, they do get a little heavy. I just got a little camo wrap. I put a little foam on it. I put a little butt pad and zip tie to the little holes that are in there. I seem a little like it's a little rigged up, but for me, it gives me proper cheek weld. And I like the extra length. They're way too short for me. Like I said, I have a rather long length of pull. You can see how much I've got that one adjusted out. It is a lot of weight with the barrel, and especially that stock. I mean, the gun's got to be easily over 10 pounds. I haven't really weighed it, but I know if you're going to be carrying it around, you're going to have to get some lighter stocks for hunting or whatever. It's not nearly as light as like an M1A or whatever, but one advantage to having this rail or this handguard, obviously, so you can add some rails to it. But I like to carry a pistol grip. I won't have the bipod if I'm just going to take it hunting or something. I definitely put on the lighter stock on the rear because I'm not going to be shooting it off a bench. But on the one thing I forgot to mention, on the stock, on the swivel, it's actually reversible. You can put that on the other side, so that's one benefit. I shoot southpaw, so that's why I always have it on this side. But one thing I did not like is they were obviously meant for the majority, which is right-handed shooters. So you got your front sling attachment right there, and the other stock actually has, so you can put like a 3-point through there or whatever. But like I said, I had it set up for me, and you can buy an attachment to put on the rail, so you can mount you a front point attachment if you choose. And as far as breaking down, you pretty much all you've got is these two pins right here. All you do is you just push them right out, and then you can field strip the whole thing. Sorry for all the pausing and stuff, but it's kind of hard to work this whole thing when you have just one hand, as lots of people have problems with in their videos. So I pulled off the buttstock, and it's got the whole rod and stuff in there. That's pretty much just your whole spring that controls the recoil. And let's see if we can get this bolt carrier out of here one-handed. I cleaned it, so hopefully I'm not going to get too dirty. Kind of hard working against gravity here. But anyways, there's the bolt carrier. And in relation to the buttstock, it's fairly big. It's fairly big bolt carrier root. These are the rollers, and there's one on both sides. There's one on both sides. You got that one, and you got that one. Whenever it slams in a full battery, this the actual bolt, it actually goes back. You see how there's a gap? It'll go all the way back, and that's when it's fully locked in, and those rollers pop out horizontally. They pop out into the actual receiver inside there, and that's where it locks up inside there. And I mean, that's probably got to be at least a good 1.5 pounds, if not more. It is hollow, if you can see, and that's where the rod goes in there. And it's actually all recoil. There's no gas system on the thing, which is kind of a unique design to it. But overall, like on the ambidextrous safety as well, it's got a little moon clip on there that holds it on there, and the trigger pack, it just slides right on out, and those are universal. They fit in all of them, in all the lowers. It's just that you had to have a special ambidextrous safety in order to go to the metal lower, because that's just a painted black. I just wanted something to match. I don't really care for the parkerized. I like, if it was all black, I was gonna just stay with it. But anyways, yeah, this one's a little bit longer. It's got to be a little bit wider or whatever for it to fit in there. But a little pricey. But I like the whole rig. I like the whole metal look compared to the plastic. But like I said, I've had the rifle probably about a year. I've put, like I said, probably a couple hundred rounds through it, mainly just Lake City. I did have a scope on it, on that claw mount, and also the rail that I've put on there. It's got 4 screws in the top of it that you just tighten down. This just clamps up underneath that rib. It's actually on it. With the claw mount, it's actually beefed up. You can't really tell because on there, it's beefed up on the receiver, so it's got a good hold. And it's actually missing a little bit of paint right there as well. The brass, it kind of deflects and it starts to chip the paint a little bit, but that's kind of inevitable. But between this and a CETME and some of the other Springfield Armory productions of these style of weapons, I much prefer this. I've seen the other ones. I haven't fired the other ones. As far as like the parts being universal, this one's actually pretty decent. There's a couple hundred rounds that I've fired through it. I've normally did about 100. I got a steel plate. I shoot about 100 yards, and I mean, as long as you got a sturdy position, and I mean, being able to hold up the weight in whatever configuration you have it, you can actually maintain pretty decent consistency with it. And with the scope on it, I was just shooting surplus Lake City ball ammo. I was probably shooting groups about 2. You know, if you ain't got a good position, maybe 3-inch, 3 MOA groups. You know, for military surplus ammo, hey, you know, it did enough to bring home some meat one day, so that's what matters. Anyways, I'll put it back in the configuration real quick. Okay, I put it back into the lightest configuration I can possibly get it in. The other one, the metal handguard that I have, when it goes in there, there's actually, where the holes are, there's only one point of attachment for them. And it's actually going to, this one right here, it's just got a screw, it fits right in there, and it bolts right up in there. This one, it probably got one of the takedown pins like this, because it's not threaded on this lower handguard. Right here, it's not threaded, so you probably have to have one of those little quick disconnects. It fits so snug that I just haven't bought one yet. Well, anyways, the rifle, it's still fairly heavy, but with the overall cost, the way it shoots, it's been fairly reliable. I've shot a lot of Tula ammo out of it. I say a lot. I've probably put a couple mags through it of Tula, the rest of it being that Lake City. I haven't had any problems with it. So it's actually been a fairly decent rifle. Alright, well, thanks for watching.